First came the October surprise, and then in November, shocker, when FBI Director James Comey released yet another letter to Congress yesterday, saying the review of emails recently found on Anthony Weiner's computer, quote, have not changed our conclusions that we expressed in July with respect to Secretary Clinton. Here's what Comey had to say way back then.
Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information. Although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case.
Wonder if he'll say anything tonight. Prior to Comey's announcement that the FBI would review this new batch of emails, Clinton was enjoying double-digit leads in many polls. For many of her supporters, the talk wasn't about winning. It was about how wide the margin would be, and could the Democrats also win a majority in the Senate. Donald Trump lashed out at the FBI decision with a familiar tirade.
I understand this is a rigged system. This is a rigged system. Hillary Clinton is guilty. She knows it. The FBI knows it.
It's pretty clear damage was done to Clinton over the last week and a half. Did yesterday's actions undo that damage? Joining me are Kelly Bates with the Institute for Social Change. Good to see you, Kelly. Dante Ramos, Boston Globe columnist and editor of the Ideas section. Good to see you, Dante. Jennifer Nassour, she told me wearing white in honor of Hillary Clinton. Former chair of the state Republican Party. Good to see all three of you. Starting with you, did he cross the line any of the three times he invaded this race? Or all three times?
I think he did. I don't think it was ever his right or responsibility to get involved the way he did. I think it should go to the Justice Department. I think he overstepped his bounds, and I think he was looking for his 5 minutes of fame.
Well, the Justice Department, though, stepped out in the first phase. Lynch deferred to her, the Attorney General, because of her alleged coincidental encounter with Bill Clinton on the tarmac.
And so the first time was one thing, but then when he did it again a week and a half ago, I think at that point, that's when he was overstepping his bounds. It was almost like he was forgotten about, and he needed to bring something else out.
Anybody disagree with that, either of you two?
No, not at all.
So did anything get fixed yesterday, or was the damage done?
I think a lot of the damage was done, and I think, frankly, he should step down and resign. I think it's really atrocious, and I think it really did influence a lot of voters in early voting states. And coming out now, 2 days before the election, it's too late for some.
Dante?
I agree. I think we've got an ongoing political science experiment right now with early voting. I think it's better, first of all, that he came forward and removed, to the extent that he could, the cloud that's there. But, you know, there are a number of states where early voting has already occurred. In some places, you know, a majority of votes are cast early. And I think we're about to find out how that affects things.
Does anybody think there was anything more than just bad, assuming you all agree there was bad judgment, which is, anybody think there's anything more than just horrible judgment here, any of you?
No, I think it's just bad judgment. I just don't understand why you would ever go out. They never looked at the emails before he went out and made a statement. And I think that, you know, when you look at, did he break the Hatch Act? Did he, you know, was he trying to influence the election in one way or another?
Yeah.
I mean, now you also, you know, you read that he had pressure from his family, from people in the FBI. Who knows if that's true? Either way, it doesn't matter.
You know, originally this Hillary Clinton's team believed that if she was to be put over the top, it would be African Americans who would do it. Well, that dynamic has changed. The African American vote is not up to expectations. People in places like Florida, North Carolina, Virginia, and to quote South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, so Trump deserves the award for Hispanic turnout. He did more to get them out than any Democrat has ever done. Are they going to be the decision makers if Hillary Clinton is the winner tomorrow night?
100%, absolutely. As soon as Trump started with his vitriol against immigrants and against Latinos, many Democrats around this country were so excited because they knew that this moment would come and that it would show at the ballot box. So absolutely, the loss around African-American voters and black voters will be made up in the difference of Latino voters.
So if she's right, it isn't that they love Hillary Clinton, it's that they can't stand or fear Donald Trump, yes?
I mean, I think Latino voters feel like they're on the menu. 25 years ago in Louisiana, David Duke was running for governor of that state. It was the first time that black turnout there ever exceeded white turnout, and that was because black voters felt like they were on the menu. And I think Donald Trump did exactly what Lindsey Graham was suggesting this time around.
But do they feel they're on Hillary Clinton's menu, or they just weren't on Donald Trump's menu?
I feel like they've been targeted. or I think they feel like they have been targeted by the Trump campaign.
So it's more a reaction to the negative than it was a little lure to the positive.
A powerful incentive to turn out to vote.
You know, last night all I hear about this is going to change American politics forever. Well, it was going to change Republican politics after Mitt Romney, 71-29 amongst Latinos? Nothing changed except for the worse on the Republican side. Is this a game changer going forward in American politics as the Latino population continues to grow as well?
Yes, I think so. I think what you saw what happened this time was exactly the opposite of what Romney's team had said should happen after the 2012 election. They went out, they said we need to target more women, more minorities, we need to, really get into the Latino households, and our message resonates. Our normal conservative message resonates with Latino voters. And then what did we do? We nominate a guy, and all he's been doing is saying, I'm going to send you back.
I mean, could be the case. I mean, to create, every time there's a major, like Karl Rove said, a permanent Republican majority, and that lasted about a minute and a half. This has, unless the Republicans get with the program, there's potential for this to help build a permanent Democratic majority. Is there not? I mean, the Latino population is exploding. No? Am I wrong?
Absolutely. And in states, they're not just, everybody's watching this moment, and states have been building toward this Latino vote for a long time, and we're seeing it swing elections in congressional races and gubernatorial races. So this has been something that's been building for a very long time over the last 2 decades.
But so many of these people, I think I read the number in Florida, 24% Latinos who early voted had never voted before. I don't think most of them it's because they're 18 or 19. It's because this all of a sudden, whether it's the negative menu thing, caused them to come out.
Absolutely. People are talking about it in homes and families in Latino communities. What's going to happen to our families if this guy's in office? Are we going to see people go back to countries that we were part of but now see United States as their home? How is this going to affect us? Are we going to be, put away somewhere? I mean, it's very serious. I mean, the level of racism and the way they've been targeted is just inexcusable. And they're saying, okay, you want to do that? Then we're going to show how we feel at the polls.
I can think of a lot of reasons why this could be a permanent or at least long-lasting shift. On the other hand, 2 years from now, if we're to have this conversation, essentially the Democrats have been running two very different type of campaigns in every other election cycle. In the midterm cycles, they have not been able to turn out a lot of the voters that they've turned out for presidential years. And, I think a question going forward after this week is whether that will change, because otherwise I think we're back into the same cycle we've been in.
Well, the question is, will they repay the
years.
constituency for assuming Hillary Clinton is the winner for helping put her in the position? Is that not really what would help determine turnout?
Well, I think what would determine turnout, I think there's two different types of elections that we've had. The congressional elections every other year are some things that the Republicans have dominated because they have gotten the same voters that have turned out every year.
Well, Republicans, when they control the White House, lose seats generally in midterm elections, too.
Well, the party that has the White House generally loses seats in the midterms. But the Republicans have overperformed in the midterms, underperformed on the presidential level. And this could be a major change, or it could just be a return to that cycle.
We're going to speaking of the future, I want to talk about what I talk about with the panel every single night for the last 2 weeks. But sadly, Frank Bruni in yesterday's New York Times said it 1,000 times better than I'd say. People should read the whole column, but here's a piece of this. Election day will redeem and settle nothing, not this time around. No matter who declares victory, tens of millions of Americans will be convinced, truly convinced, that the outcome isn't legitimate because untoward forces intervene. The person taking office will do so not on a wave of hope, but amid tides of disgust against fierce currents of resistance. Tell me how she or he moves forward. Tell me how America does. Does anybody have a case that he is unduly pessimistic? I see no way today how November 9th going forward either Trump or Clinton governs this country. Is that an unduly pessimistic position?
At Interaction Institute for Social Change, we're calling for a national call to action around unification and conversation, because this last 2 years has divided America in such a way that unless we are very intentional and have conversations in workplaces, in neighborhoods, and in communities, we're going to be in serious trouble, not just around race and the kinds of conversations that came up there, but also what is also, I think, evolving from this election is everyone knows that it's broken. It may not be rigged to everybody, but the fact that you can't run without having a ton of money, that we're not addressing job losses, that we're not addressing the economy and what's really affecting people's lives is held across the board. People are unhappy with the party system.
And they can't stand the candidates. You know, one of the things that's most depressing to me is a guy who more often than not is a moderate Republican, except when he takes an extreme position for a month and a half or something. John McCain joined this no Supreme Court nominee. This is unconscionable to me. I promise you that we will be united, meaning the Republicans in the Senate, against any Supreme Court nominee that Hillary Clinton, if she were president, would put up. How is that a defensible position, even if you accept that maybe it was okay to not hold a hearing on Merrick Garland? Can anybody defend this kind of obstructionism?
No, and I'm actually surprised at Senator McCain, because when I saw Ron Johnson say it, well, Ron Johnson's going to go down in a ball of flames, so it almost doesn't matter what he has to say because he's not going to be there. For John McCain, who is going to end up winning his election, I think it's actually more of a serious claim. Now, one of the things also that he might be doing is appealing to those Trump voters that he needs, not really believing what he's saying, because he might also see that if the Republicans hold on to the Senate, it might be by one senator, which isn't really an overwhelming majority.
But he's not alone. This is not a one and done. There are a number of Republicans. I mean, is this not one of the scariest things we've heard yet about what happens after November 8th if Hillary Clinton is elected?
I mean, I don't know what to say about it. I think it's absolutely horrible. And I wish I thought that Frank Bruni were wrong. I don't know that he is. I think should Hillary Clinton win by a larger margin than she has as a lead in the poll right now, that is something that could at least put away the idea that the election was stolen from people, if indeed she does win. On the other hand, if it is really tight and she wins by a small margin in one or two states, I don't see how this gets put to bed.
On that optimistic note, Kelly, it's nice to see you.
Great to see you, John.
Dante, you as well.
Good to see you.
Love the outfit. Thank you so much.
Waving the white flag, John.
Later.